All right. Well, appreciate the introduction, Nate. And good afternoon, everyone. Wanted to thank you guys for your time this afternoon to review some of this stuff. Looking forward to going over some of the highlights of things that we see in the market, where we see kind of the do's and don'ts of automation, and why we feel and see that automated palletizing is an excellent application to look at to start automating and to have a drastic impact in a positive way on your business. I would encourage to put questions in the chat, as every application is different. I'd be looking forward to, at the end, addressing those questions with everyone. So the first thing, when you're starting to look for automation, especially if you're starting at the ground level with no experience or not having having relied fully on manual labor, it's a daunting task, right? There's so many different applications that you could look at and say, well, I want to do this, I want to do that. It's important though to narrow those thoughts down to specific production processes and applications that are going to make an impact. A lot of the times, we see customers wanting to automate things, but they're typically they can be highly difficult tasks, and so the level of difficulty in implementing them can be challenging and very time consuming, and it's normally not an effective place to start. We'll address some of those applications here and what to look for, but just kind of wanted to start with that. The reason that we automate things, right, and everyone kind of facing the same problem, right, is the lack of available labor. The cost of labor is a problem as well, but more often than not, our customers are just having the problem of not having enough available people to hire. The market's not been there to support the needs that they have, and as far as we see, we don't see it getting any better anytime soon. The U.S. Census projects 2.1 million unfulfilled manufacturing jobs by 2030. So how do we bridge that gap and stay competitive in a global marketplace? It's going to be through factory automation. The issues that the lack of available labor causes is you're not meeting production demands, longer lead times, you're not able to get things done in the manner that you would want, which can obviously have an impact on your business, whether that's losing contracts, scrap rates increasing. Human beings, we make mistakes, and you're going to always be dealing with that, especially with some of these larger companies moving into the area, having to deal with having to offer higher and higher wages, cutting into margin, right, just to attract labor. And then you deal with the issues with retention around that as well. A lot of what doesn't get talked about is the cost of retraining and upkeep on all of that labor, which of course obviously has an impact to the bottom line. So this is the problem that we see, and it's pretty unanimous across the board, from market sector to market sector. So that's what we're trying to address. So what do? You got to look for a few different things in order to put automation in place. The big an operational standpoint, and it's you have different issues associated with like ergonomic issues and all of that as well. So it's typically a good place to start when you're looking for automation. Also, other things that have high production costs. If it's taking like highly skilled labor, or it's a process where you're having to pay a little bit more for, that's also a really good place to look for automation, or look to put automation in place. And then anything that's a low level of difficulty, right? So again, that kind of falls in the repeatability bucket there, but anything that causing quality issues and anything that would have, all this backing into having a quick and meaningful ROI. So that's where we like to look for, and or where we like to look when we're basically looking at an entire process. These are the key factors or the pillars that kind of focus our attention, right? Which tends to be palletizing. Palletizing tends to hit a lot of these focus areas. Why? It's a, manual palletizing is a critical task. It's, no matter what you're doing, the last thing that you do, the last part of the process typically, right before product goes out the door. So it kind of gets overlooked as, you're stacking boxes. But if you think about it, I mean, it is the last place that your product is being touched before it gets on the truck, right? So we've seen customers dealing with a lot of issues of, just air on the assembly process, pallets not being stacked right, they don't ship properly, product in the wrong product is going on the wrong pallets, customer the right orders, all of that, leading to, complaints, what have you. Not good though, right? The other thing that it presents is it's got a lot of health issues, right? Boxes are heavy, pallets are on the ground, or at least that's, a lower level. You deal with a lot of ergonomic issues, a lot of backs. It's really repeatable, so I don't know, things like carpal tunnel, all of that, right? It's hard to keep employees because of this stuff, right? No one wants to, they do this for a few months and then they want to, move on because they get sick of it, as a lot of us would. So by automating this, you eliminate a lot of these challenges. So in the past, right, there's pretty much two ways to attack this, right? You could continue doing manual palletizing, right, which we just kind of talked about the issues associated with that. But you also had the opportunity to do an industrial palletizer. And I want to, be clear. There are definitely still places for industrial palletizing, and we deal in industrial palletizers as well. It's all about basically using the details of the application to back into what the proper and necessary hardware is. So a lot of things so product weights, speed, cycle times, all of that are going to come into play. So I do want to preface with that because I don't want to say all industrial palletizing is bad, because that's absolutely not the case. But it tends to be a much larger undertaking of a project to put into place, right? The other things that are challenging with it is it's not flexible. So if you guys are doing multiple different types of products, and you need that flexibility of having running one product half the year and another the other part of the year, you're not going to get a lot of that flexibility out of it unless you build it into it from the beginning. But it doesn't give you the optionality to change on the fly, right? They take up a lot of space because they're going to be bigger robots, and you're going to need to put caging around them because they're not collaborative, which I'll go into collaborative robots here in a moment, but which is kind of where we see the value. But so it's going to take up a large footprint on your floor. You're going to have to work around that. It's not going to be inherently safe. So you deal with those issues. Changeover becomes much more challenging, time consuming, having to change out a lot of mechanical tooling and whatnot. And then because there's a much larger level of higher level of difficulty in programming industrial palletizers. So you're typically relying on a third party integrator, which is like I said, which is totally fine, but it kind of that knowledge that is outside of your building. So when you need to make changes, you want to do this, you want to do that, you're relying on a third party to come in and do that. So you're dealing with the cost of having to do that, and then the lack of convenience, right? Now you're on someone else's time. So in comes collaborative robots. So collaborative robots are at this point I would say aren't new. It's not a new concept or really a new technology for most of us, but the value that they bring is undoubtedly still there. So collaborative robots, as compared to industrial robots, are kind of what's in the name. They're collaborative, right? So they've got force sensing in all the joints to be able to work in an environment where it doesn't need a cage, and where it's really easy to use and versatile, where you don't need to, if it bumps into something that's in its path, it stops. which eliminates the need for that all of those safety protocols that you have to adhere to with industrial robots. So you have the safety benefit there of not having to put a cage on it, take up a ton of space. The other thing that you get is you get the ease of use and the versatility out of it. So we'll go over here as we continue to go through the presentation what that looks like and why it's so much easier. But you're using you're teaching it out on the floor. The teach pendant on the robot is extremely flexible and easy to use. So it allows you to, like we talked about, if you're, let's say you're a contract packager, right, and you got to do one thing for one quarter and another product for another, as opposed to having to bring in an integrator to change everything, to change the pallet patterns and all of that, you can do this on your own on the fly, which makes it really, really easy. A lot of the tooling and all of that has been adapted to be able to handle multiple different products. So you're dealing with much less changeover. And then it allows you to, kind of build and share that internal automation know-how. So your team can be trained on how to use this equipment and these systems to where you're not, if you need to make a change, you can go out on the floor and do it. So it saves you a lot of time there. So this is where I wanted to introduce one of our partners, or I guess two of our partners, kind of all one in the same here. But we obviously represent Universal Robots, which is our collaborative robot, which is what you see here. And then all of the rest of the hardware is from Robotic. So Robotic is what's called a UR Plus partner of Universal Robots. So they develop the software add-on to use with the robot. The best way to think of it is kind of how Apple creates the App Store, right? And then you have a bunch of app developers that make apps. Robotic, in our opinion, is the best app developer there is for Universal Robots. So they developed the Robotic Palletizer, which we'll go through the different models here in a second. But what you see here in this picture, this is an AX series, but this is the footprint. This is everything that you get, right? So extremely small footprint, really adaptable, programming it using the teach pendant. And we have different models here depending on, product weight and pallet height and all of that. So we'll go through all that here in a sec, but wanted to introduce everyone to the Robotic Palletizer. So a lot of you are probably thinking, okay, let's say, I've identified that I want to do palletizing, right? Well, what do I need to think of specific to that? Well, the nice thing that Robotic has done and UR has done is simplified it down to basically needing to know just these three pieces of information in order to program the palletizer, right? So all you need to know is obviously our box dimensions and weight, or our case dimensions and weight, depending, and you can run multiple different case sizes as long as you're within the specs of the system, all on the same platform. And then we just need to know the pallet pattern and then box presentation. So how is it coming from a tape sealer to a conveyor hard stop? Do you have what type of conveyor is there in place? Do we need to have it be a motorized conveyor? All that kind of stuff. But once you know those three pieces of information, we're good to go. So this right here is a screenshot basically of the software. Like I just mentioned, this basically walks you through those three pieces of information that you need in order to create a fully functional palletizing system with the robot, right? So these are literal screenshots off of the teach pendant of the robot. So what you're seeing here is exactly what you would see on the floor when you're programming the robot. All you need to do is put in your box dimensions, right? So your length, width, height, and then the box payload. What does that box weigh? One thing to note here is you can also set a label orientation. So let's say you wanted to have a label, your labels all facing out so that anyone could go up to a pallet from any position and scan it and know exactly what that product is or what have you. So that's all done right in the software, and basically once you tell the robot what side the label's on, it's going to make sure it palletizes them facing outwards. The only other thing you would have to do here on screen 1 is set the grip position. So like any other collaborative robot application, you do that by free driving the robot by hand right to the pick point, which actually in this palletizing system is the only actual waypoint that you're going to have to set with the robot. So you're gonna manually drive it over to where the boxes end on the conveyor. You're gonna save that as your pick point, and you're gonna be done. From there, you're gonna go into screen 2, and you're gonna put in your pallet dimensions. So most of you, I'm sure, are operating off of just standard palletizers. So, and then you're gonna tell it, am I only doing a right pallet or am I only doing a left pallet? As you saw in some of the previous pictures, it's set up to do dual palletizing. So, most of our customers are doing it dual, and then, but depending on what your layout looks like, you may only want to do a right or a left. That's completely up to you. Then you're going to go from there, and you're going to set your pallet config or your pallet the pattern, right? So typically you're going to have 2 different layers, right? Typically they mirror each other so that the pallet interlocks and is nice and sturdy. So you go into your pattern A. All you're doing, like you see on this on screen 4 here, is you're just dragging and dropping those boxes on that pallet how you want them stacked. You would then come out, do your pattern B, then tell it how many number of layers you want it to go up, and that's all you have to do. So pretty simple, and like like I said in the beginning, I'll welcome questions for any of this here at the end. So this right here is a sample of what our offline simulator looks like, which is an extremely valuable tool. We use this to vet out applications to see how many boxes per minute we can get to make sure we meet cycle time requirements or whatnot. But this is also available completely free on Robotic's website for like I said, we use it, our customers can use it. But it allows you to say, hey, maybe if you're wanting to add a few new programs or a few new cases to the line, you're going to be able to come in here in the offline simulator and determine what that cycle time is going to be. You don't have to do this, live on the floor. And this is exactly what it looks like. So this will also help us. This helps us back into what model palletizer is going to be most effective, and it gives us like I said, obviously a live simulation of what this process will look like. In here too, we can change the conveyor configuration, what from where it's coming in, how boxes are being presented, all of that. So really valuable tool. This is a quick example. There we go of what this looks like in a factory. So you can see boxes just coming to a small motorized section of conveyor was added here just to ensure that the boxes get to the end of the line. And then what you'll have, there's a sensor at the end of the conveyor that's going to tell the robot when a box is present or not. So the robot's gonna basically wait for that input signal that a box is there, and then it's going to go ahead and grab it. This is another example of a live application. We get a lot of questions about feeding 2 different types of product at once, which the answer to that is yes, that is entirely possible. Here's a example of how to set that up. There's a few different ways to set that up, but you absolutely can have 2 conveyors feeding into one palletizer with one size product on one side and one size on the other. And you are absolutely able to run 2 different pallet patterns with 2 different payloads. Basically, depending on you'll obviously have 2 different box sensors at the end of each conveyor that will tell so depending on whichever signal goes high, the robot then is able to know what payload it's grabbing, and then what that pallet pattern is. Let's see if this is loading here. Looks like it doesn't want to go. So we've done, this number is actually a little light at this point. We'll, once we have new numbers at the end of the year, we'll be able to update this, but we've done, Robotic, globally has done over 200 palletizers installed worldwide. 50% being food and beverage, which is a big sector for us, just because obviously, a lot of that is being palletized pretty easily. So there's no lack of experience with looking at different applications. So now I'm going to dive into what the different series are and the different models. And the best way to think of this is, it's all just going to depend on what your requirements are. But we have a model to cover pretty much everything. So very, very rarely do we see an application where one of these cannot be a good fit. So to start off, we have the PE series, which the PE basically is just the abbreviation for pedestal. So what that means is the robot is on a fixed height pedestal, as you see here. It is adjustable, but you're going to be limited to about 60-inch tall pallets here. This is the PE10 that we're looking at. So it's utilizing a UR10E collaborative robot from Universal Robots. So you're dealing with a payload of about 27.5 pounds here. It's called the UR10E. It's actually able to handle about 12.5 kilograms. But that's the PE10. And everything that you see here is what comes with it, right? So the pedestal, the teach pendant stand, obviously able to handle dual pallets with pallet sensors in the bottom there that tells the robot when a pallet is present or not. And then of course the power pick gripper, base, all of that. This is one of our newer models. This is the PE20. So same concept, except utilizing the new UR20 robot. So the benefit to this obviously is able to handle much higher payloads. And with the reach of the robot being much greater, we're able to do 84-inch tall pallets. This also is on a fixed height pedestal. So the robot, the base is never going to move, just like the PE10. But the robot is so large that you're able to handle, like I said, 84-inch tall pallets. So this is what we're seeing as kind of being the catch-all model, because it's able to handle a lot of stuff, and it also future-proofs you for being able to handle higher payloads, right? Because you never want to be in a situation where you now own a system and you want to now take on a new product or run a new product that is going to exceed the abilities of the hardware you have. This kind of future-proofs you in it being able to handle 40-pound cases. Software packages are all the same, but yeah, that's the PE20. This is the AX series. So this comes in with the UR10E, which is what you see here. The biggest difference on the AX series is the base of the robot is mounted to a vertical 7th axis. One thing to note that really separates us here is we do synchronized motion. So what that means is you're not going to have that robot base moves up and down on that 7th axis. This gives you the ability to be able to do much taller pallets, so up to 108-inch tall pallets. But you're not, when I say synchronized motion, that robot is not waiting for the 7th axis to get fully in position before it starts making its move to get to either pick a box or stack a box. So it really saves you on cycle time as compared to having to grab a box, move up, then go stack. Really interesting offering there. And coming very, very soon here is going to be the AX30. So we're going to be able to utilize the new UR30 robot with the same platform here to be able to handle those really tall pallets, but now being also able to do really heavy case weights. So I've touched on a few of these things, but wanted to just overview, basically what's in the box. So if you were to move forward on one of these systems and go ahead and install them. For example, we'll use the AX series as an example. What you'd be looking at is you'd be getting the fully integrated 7th axis. You have pallet sensors on the base of each on the robot base. You'll have the status lights to indicate full pallet, empty pallet, need a pallet, whatever you want to do there. You'll of course have the power pick vacuum gripper, which is completely flexible and adjustable with the configurations to handle multiple different size boxes. You'll obviously get the software, the palletizing software. Also comes with the infrared box sensor to put on the conveyor to tell presence absence of a box, and then the floor anchoring kit if you wanted to floor anchor it, and then of course the complete cable management system. So up to this point, we've really overviewed the just kind of the standard hardware offering. What I wanted to go over now is what we at Adams, as a distributor and value add, integrator can do, on the palletizing side. So we have in our shop that anyone is welcome to come see is we have a PE20 live demo. So that allows us to do product testing. So if any of our customers want to send us, a pallet of cases, or any sort of product, we can run live testing on it. We're also, like I said, able to have customers in for a live demonstration. We also do full end of arm tool evaluation. So obviously, we're able to handle a lot of different cases and product sizes with the gripper option that comes with the system. But if we need to do anything outside of that, which I'll touch on here in a second, we have the ability through both ourselves and our partners to do, figure out what's the best tooling option, right? Do we need to go to a different type of gripper? Do we need to, change the configuration, whatever. Obviously, we can do the palletizing simulation, and then we've got, optional safety add-ons as well if that's something that you wanted to pursue. This is a video of what of our PE20 demo. This is from our shop. So I would encourage anyone to let us know if you'd like to come in and see it. The video is being a little choppy here, so I apologize. But if you'd like to come in and see this at any point, please let us know. We're happy to show it off, and like I said, run any testing that you may want with it. So back to the end of our tooling. So what I wanted to talk about here is just kind of what we're able to do. Obviously with palletizing, we're talking a lot about, typical, cardboard box cases, right? I don't want to, your mind to be limited to just thinking that that's all this can do, because we can do all sorts of different types of product. All we need to do is change the end of arm tooling. So we have our partner PIAB. We have a lot of different gripping options that we can look at from them. So we have our Keynotes, which is our foam pad gripper that gives us a ton of flexibility, to grab all sorts of different type of product. PIAB is also excellent at developing fully custom solutions depending on the application. So, we deal with things like picking up buckets, bags, obviously, cardboard boxes. I mean, there's really a lot of different things that we can do here. Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure, everyone was aware of that, as, don't think, oh, well, I palletize, buckets, or my product doesn't have a lid, or I do trays, or, what have you. We can do all sorts of different product styles with custom end of arm tooling development. So at this point, I wanted to say thank you for everyone taking the time to join us here and talk through this, and would love to open it up to questions.
All right, thank you, Derek. We do have a question already in the chat, and you touched on this briefly, but I think you could probably expand on it. This person asks, considering there is no cage, how is safety handled around the robot?
So it's all dependent upon on the application, right? It's an interesting question that we always go through, especially when we talk collaborative robots, because you know you can say, oh yeah, the robot is collaborative, it's safe, yes, but the extreme example that I always use is, what if it's holding a steak knife, right? I mean, it doesn't have to hit you very hard for it to to cause any damage at that point, right? So how collaborative is it, right? So one thing that we do, and I mentioned it a few slides back, is the optional safety. So what we will do is typically the best option is to add a safety area scanner. So we will put that at the base of the system, and our partner Loitza has a ton of different options for whatever size area you would like to guard. But what's unique about that with an area scanner versus like a light curtain or caging is it allows us to customize it to where we can have warning zones and shut off zones, and without having to put hard guarding in place. So yes, if for example, you're concerned about just the weight of the cases and all of that stuff, you absolutely can add a safety area scanner, if you'd like. We also through Loitza offer safety risk assessments. So if it's something where you just wanted to feel more comfortable about it, Loitza will come out, do a risk assessment, basically say we're good to go, or we need to add this or this, and go from there.
So it's probably a good place to start then, I imagine. Do the risk assessment and then see what that necessitates and go from there. So we've got another question here. This question is Robotique working on a feature where the boxes can be placed on a pallet in a specific sequential order?
So there's no, I guess what I'm assuming is you want them like based on like the serial number. So we could do that with kind of expanding upon the automation. You would just need to know what was coming, and then you could, if you were basically able to tell the robot like what serial numbers were coming down the conveyor, it could pick and choose based on that. We'd add something like either a barcode reader or a vision system to be able to do that. Out of the box, it's going to pick whatever box comes down the conveyor first, right? If you were trying to use the robot to sort in that manner, you would need additional hardware like a camera or a barcode reader. That would be possible though. But it's not something that at least I'm aware of right now that is going to be inherent in the software.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Those were the only questions that we had in the chat. You can either put it in the chat or you can raise your hand. I'll unmute you and you can ask. Just give you guys a little bit here. I think that might be it. I don't see any other questions, Derek. So thank you for your presentation. Thank you. Well, hold on. So here's a question, pretty direct. What are the starting costs?
So it's gonna depend on the model. You're gonna be starting roughly around $80,000 all the way up until roughly about 120, 130. So obviously larger robots, more payload is going to be, increased cost, and then, the smaller pallets, lighter payload will be on the lower end.
And that's where that ROI calculator comes in really handy.
Exactly. Yep. That's another thing. So, we offer that as well. I mean, we'd be happy to address kind of looking at that payback, based on the initial investment, and then based on your savings and how often it would run and all of that, to be able to help any customer with projecting that ROI.
Yep. All right, here we go. Hold on, we got another one. What are the lead times at this moment for these palletizers?
So much faster than anyone would probably think. You're looking at about 2 to 4 weeks, and we are typically much closer on the 2.
And then, Derek, what could they expect from implementation? The everything arrives. How long till it's up and running?
So to give you an example, we set up our PE20, and I do not want to hold myself out there as any sort of engineer or expert. We pulled our PE20 out of the crate and had it up and running in 2 days.
And this was for our Tech Fest event, so no pressure.
Correct. So you're to be from getting it out of the case to up and running product under a week. We do also offer our jumpstart services. So we have a team that we can send out, obviously for a cost, but we can send out and actually assist with that setup process. We also offer, being able to do it turnkey, meaning if you didn't want to touch anything, we can come out and we can do, we can program it for however many products you want us to have it programmed for, install all of that. So that's basically the 3 levels or 3 options there. But it's just on a case by case basis. But that's the nice thing about this is it's well under a week as far as setup goes.
Perfect. Okay, we've got another one here. Could you just go over the payload ranges again?
Yeah, so we've got the lightest one is gonna, or the smallest robot is gonna be the UR10E, which handles about 12.5 kilograms, and so roughly 27.5 pounds. You do have to factor in your end of arm tooling weight into that payload, so that will net out of there. Then we have the UR20, so you're gonna handle about 44 pounds of payload. You want to probably stick to case weights of about 40 pounds or under, to account for the end of arm tooling. And then we also have the UR30. So you're going to be doing just under 65 pounds there.
All right, we've got another question. And this one is, what type of support is available once the system is up and running? And maybe you could even touch on our training as well, Derek.
Yep, great question. So we also offer, we are a UR certified training center. We also, so you're able to come to, we have a class about every month. Where so Ben Voorhees is our training and support manager, so he runs all of those. So you can come to the UR class. Now the UR certified training is going to be UR focused. It's going to touch on palletizing, but it's not going to be specific on palletizing. We are though offering palletizer specific training, so also in person to come out and do that on our demo system in our facility for training. Outside of that, we offer phone support, all of that, and then again, we'd fall back to our jumpstart assistance. So if you wanted someone to come on site for X amount of days, we obviously charge a rate for that. But any sort of like phone support, all of that, that's all included. But with us being local, it's really easy for us to come out and support. The other thing that we're able to do is we're able to handle a lot of things, on the system over the phone. But it all just, on a case by case basis.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we have not only the factory support with UR and Robotique, but we also have 8 engineers on staff. So, we could probably answer the question or find the answer for you. So we got another question here. The robot comes with a license of this. I think what's meant by this is, does the robot come with a license for the software as well? What is included with that?
Yep, great question. Yes, it does. So you'll have the UR plus the UR cap for the palletizing software, and then you have the UR robot software, obviously, Polyscope that comes on the robot. The other nice thing is there's no license fee or anything like that. All upgrades to the software that come out periodically you're able to upgrade it for free. So you'll never have to pay for additional software.
Good question. So as of right now, those are the only questions that I see. That was a lot of questions. Good questions, guys.
Yep.
Just give people a second here. All right, I think that wraps it up. Well, we just wanted to say thank you everyone for joining, spending your time with us. Thank you, Derek, for the presentation. As I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, we will be sending out a recording. I will also be providing everyone with Derek's contact information in that email. So if you have any questions, you can reach directly out to him. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully, yeah, like Nate said, feel free. I'd love to have specific conversations around your process and your applications, and see how we can help. I appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you.